sentencing of Nicholas Ninow, where the convicted rapist, Nicholas Ninow, has been sentenced to life in prison. Ninow has received an additional 5 years for the possession of drugs. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema was in court when the sentencing was delivered, and she joins us now live from the High Court in Pretoria. Sipha, the contrast between the emotions right at the point at which the announcement was made and the sentence was delivered by the judge there couldn't be sharper, between the supporters and the people who were there in the public gallery versus the inconsolable sobs of Nicholas Ninow's family. Take us through some of the reaction.
Well, that's true, Otulas. Quite an emotional day it was today in court, especially when the sentence was handed down to Ninow. I mean, as you said, it was more than welcomed from the packed gallery. The public stood up on the benches in excitement once they heard that he was given a life-term sentence with, of course, an added 5 years for possession of drugs, of an illegal substance, as well as defeating the ends of justice. And, of course, we saw his grandmother and mother break down in court when he was given that life sentence. They were crying, you know, tears of emotion, of heartbreak. But of course the crowd, which was quite a contradiction, they were more than happy to scream and obviously show how excited they were that he was given his life sentence. Now Tulas, they weren't the only people in the crowd that were excited. We have a number of organizations that have been following this trial from the first day. And we have here Themba Masango, the Secretary General of Not In My Name. Themba, now tell us, how is Not In My Name feeling about the sentence?
A great relief. It's been a long 13 months. You'd remember that Not In My Name was the first organization that actually broke the story after the Joss rape happened last year in September. We are really, our trust and our faith has been restored in the judicial system in South Africa. These are sentences that we need to start seeing more and more on the ground. But let's not forget, this case was about a little girl that was raped last year. And, you know, in one of the interviews that she had with the social worker, she said that, you know, she's scared every night. She gets nightmares, you know, seeing this guy coming to visit him again. She gets scared every single day when she wakes up, wondering whether this person will come back and do what he did to her again. Now she can finally sleep. She can finally rest, knowing that this will never happen to her again, that the bad monster is out of the place. But moreover, what we want to get out there is that cases like these should stop being politicized. Political parties should stop coming here to try score political points out of the pain of little children and women in South Africa. The emancipation of women and the rights of children are an integral pillar in our democracy. It's not a little box that we tick. So this thing of having 16 days of activism and so on, it's all good and well, but we should have every single day activism against this. There's a case in Limpopo now where a child of 6 years has died. There's a case in Mamelodi of a child also of 6 years that has been raped, who has just come out of hospital. We were doing counseling with her and everything. We want the same sentence meted out on there. Animals and people like Ninow do not deserve to see the light of day. And we think that legislation should be formalized and put in place properly, that when issues like these come out, it should be a shutdown case where the person that's in the dock knows that I am facing life and without the possibility of parole. But we welcome this judgment, and a good job to our judiciary and obviously the lawyers that were involved.
Thank you so much, Themba. Now that's Themba, Secretary General of Not In My Name, saying that they welcome the life sentence, which of course could set precedent for other cases such as the ones that he's mentioned, the one in Limpopo and the one in Mamelodi. Now joining us here to my right, I do have ANC spokesperson Dakota. Tell us about now the reaction from the governing party regarding this matter. Life sentence for Nicholas Ninow. Are we going to start seeing a trend now being implemented for rape cases and domestic violence cases?
Look, we welcome the outcome of the court. this is consistent with what our President Cyril Ramaphosa has called for, that there must be harsher sentences against perpetrators of gender-based violence. Our only concern is that the judiciary would have done much better with this particular sentence. It's a good example, but we wanted at least to get 2 or 3 life sentences, because I can make an example that with the current laws that we have, if somebody gets 25 years, which is a life, get another 5 years, which is 30, and another 5 years, which is 35, it brings you that in terms of the parole laws of our country, that once you have served 1/3 of your sentence, you can apply for a parole. And it means sanctions and sentences to say if somebody rapes a minor in our country, it must be known that that person will get 200 years. It must be legislated. Parole laws must also be amended to ensure that it does not become easy for any perpetrator of gender-based violence to know that they can be out at any time through our parole laws. We must also have our lawmakers strengthening the parole laws to ensure that perpetrators of violence, of crime in our country do not deserve the same rights as law-abiding citizens.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sakota. Now, we're moving on to the NPA spokesperson, P.D. Mjolondwane, who is going to talk to us. I mean, about Pindi, we've just seen now your victory. As you said, you were gunning for your life sentence, and here you have it. What is the reaction from the NPA?
Well, the scourge of gender-based violence in our country dictates that harsher sentences should be imposed by our courts. And indeed, yes, our courts have been doing that. There's sterling work being done by investigating officers, by prosecutors, in convincing the court to impose the minimum prescribed sentence. So as the NPA, we are satisfied with the court's ruling, as we have successfully managed to convince the court that no any other sentence will satisfy the amount of trauma that the victim was faced with together with her family. That will also serve to deter like-minded individuals in the country. That will also send a message that our courts are listening. Society has spent a lot of efforts trying to raise their voices to say that there needs to be harsher action against gender-based violence. Our government has spent millions, as the judge has said, in order to educate communities. And therefore, it is an indication by the court in imposing such a sentence that our courts are listening.
Now, Billy, we know that the minimum NPA and the state was looking for a life-term sentence. Would you say that you're rather disappointed you got the minimum instead of maybe 2 life sentences?
Look, at the end of the day, our laws says that our presiding officers should make sentences to run concurrently. That is what the law states. So we cannot find fault in the imposition of such sentences. It is not as a result of the presiding officer's wish, but rather it is what the law dictates. So as the NPA, we knew that once we argued for the imposition of a life imprisonment term, the possibility of the court then allowing all imposed sentences to run concurrently was a likelihood. So therefore we are satisfied with the kind of work that both the prosecutor and the investigating officer has done in securing justice for the minor child. And as the NPA, we continue to be the voice for gender-based violence victims.
Thank you so much. That's Pindi Mjolondwane, who is the NPA spokesperson. Now, we just want to get one final reaction from you, which is from, of course, the EFF as well, who have also been here since the beginning of this trial. Not just the trial, but when the incident occurred where they lobbied and they marched to the dross for injustice. But now, finally, Mandisa, justice is served. How are you feeling about that?
Look, you know, I'll never be happy. because we believe that several life sentences, maybe minimum 2, could have helped had we managed to win our battle to get attempted murder, because it's valid as an additional charge. However, we will deal with that by, amending and proposing amendments of relevant legislation, and we hope that parties will not play politics and they will support us so that we get that amendment. It's necessary, it's important. South Africa has no precedence. We are the only country in the world with this disgusting, disgraceful, shameful, absolutely pathetic situation where all of us, me and you, are not safe. Even worse, poor black women are less safe than, women such as myself and yourself who can afford to, live in maybe a complex and all of that. And so we are not entirely happy. We are definitely unhappy about the drug sentence. If this man was black, the average sentencing for black people who are found with drugs is what? It's not 5 years. We believe they could have given him 10 years. And that would have been at least an added to the life sentence. We are not happy about the defeating the ends of justice because we're talking about a child. They could have pushed it up just above 10 years. And so there's several technical issues here that we are unhappy with. We are not happy with how they fought, the NPA fought the remorse factor. They had many, many indicators to help them argue a much stronger case. But the judge helped us on that, and we are grateful. We marched to the Constitutional Court in April of this year to demand training of judges. And we think that this is partly some of the outcomes. And so we're going to keep on pushing. We're going to fight for Palisa Madiba. We're going to fight for the other 6-year-old in Mamelodi who has been raped. But ultimately, we say aluta continua.
Thank you so much. That's Mandisa Mashego, EFF Gauteng chairperson, saying that it is a kind of bittersweet. The news have been received, welcomed, but at the same time, they were hoping for more on the Ninow case.